Hello, everyone. This is Cassandra Pickett, your personality, your radio and TV host personality with the Small Business Network. This is episode 254. Today, I have a guest speaker. His name is Shawn A. White. He's with the Small Business Network as well. And he is basically the CEO of Transformation Greatness. He's a coach that will help you with our segment today. And what we're going to talk about, we talked about forgiveness, the art of forgiveness, and we talked about forgiving yourself, forgiving others. And so now we're going to talk about the element of healing. How do you heal once you forgive? So today, I just wanted to have our coach, basically from Transformation Greatness, Shawn A. White, to talk a little bit about how we can heal after we forgive ourselves, the person that harmed us, or whatever that may have that you need to forgive yourself from. So, Shawn, how are you doing this evening? Thank you for being on this network with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. And first and foremost, thank you for just inviting me on as far as, to your podcast. I see you doing a lot of big and great things, not only, for the small business network, but even for your own personal brand as well. So I most certainly see a lot of growth. I see a lot of maturation, if you will, in your potential, steps in terms of truly being the expert authority in your field. And it's just an honor and a joy to even to be discussing with this topic because it's so important. And in these days and times, especially, you have a lot of individuals that's dealing with trauma, that's dealing with disappointment, dealing with a lot of hurt, in which forgiveness is something that all of us know about, right? It's something that
Yes.
we definitely know that on a conscious level. But when it really comes down to doing the steps in terms of forgiveness, that's where it can get very difficult. And of course, obviously, you know, um, everyone is different and everyone has different experiences. So this is no cookie cutter approach by any means necessary, but we're going to do the best we can to be able to provide value. And hopefully, I believe that this will be able to help someone. So that's what it's all about.
Well, I want everyone to know you have brought value to my life ever since I've been in the Small Business Network. You are basically one of the co founders of the Small Business Network, and I want the audience to know that. And just knowing you and not being a client, I've gotten some free things, some tools to help me in my life. So I thought this would be the perfect time so that we could collaborate together and be able to help one another and just probably give those gems that not probably but give those gems that you gave me to help me on my journey. So with that being said, what would be what I've done is I went online to kind of look for some things about healing. And normally when you talk about healing, sometimes people think you're sick and physically, but we talk about mind, body, and spirit here, okay? Because you can be sick physically and it can hurt you internally as well, because we know you're not going to be the best that you can be. But sometimes you can walk around here like I'm walking around here and I don't look like what I've been through. And that's most of us, okay? Not in depression, just more or less needing to get off shit off some of that dead old things that you carry. So, what would be? I know the first thing that I saw when I started looking at this is owning what you taking ownership. And what I mean by taking ownership is defining what actually took place, what happened to you, whether that be the trauma of forgiveness, or whether that be some type of you allow someone to take advantage of you. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about, sometimes we think we have friends and things happen. So can you help me with some of these steps? So what would you say would be the first thing in this healing process?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a great point. In terms of the healing, and this is something that a lot of people they may or may not like, and I think that you touched on, is that what was your part to play in the whole equation? Now, some people may, resist on that, give a lot of backlash. I'm like, well, what do you mean? I was the victim here, and it wasn't my fault whatsoever. And we're not talking about things like as far as like sexual abuse or things like that when you were a little kid, right? Things that were out of your
Mhm.
control. That's not what we're talking about. What we're
Okay.
talking about more so of things that was like self-inflicted. And if we all can be honest with us, there have been moments and times in which that, based on the things that happened to us, would in fact be self-inflicted, right? And so I would definitely say one of the first steps is being accountable, right? Asking you
Yes.
and being truly honest, like what part did you have to play in the role? Because it's very easy as far as to play the victim role, right? I'm gonna give you an example. I remember when my mother passed, and for a long time
Sorry to hear that.
it was traumatizing in the sense because she passed away when I was 19. And so for a long time I had like this kind of victim mentality, right? Like, oh, worries me, I feel so bad, I lost my mom, the bedrock, she was the mother and the father and everything else, and all these different things in which, I attributed to that, and I use that as validation for me to feel and act in the way in which that I was acting. But
Yes.
the part in which that I left out a lot, in which I didn't want to take accountability for, is that what part that I had to play in that, meaning that could I have been a better son, right? If I wasn't so rebellious, if I wasn't so stubborn, if I wasn't so disrespectful. So what part did I had to play in that? And I had to be really raw and get honest with myself in that during that time. And listen, I hear it already. Some people say, "Well, I was young. I didn't know any better," and all these different
Yes.
things. Listen, the bottom line is this: when you get to an age of reasoning, meaning that you know right from wrong, good or bad,
Hmm.
being young is not an excuse.
That's true.
It's not an excuse. Because if you know that you're not supposed to be doing that, if you know that you could have did better, right? We all have decisions in which we can make. We can go left, we can go right. We can do or not do. So I had to get to the realization that, yeah, even though I'm young and all these other things, the fact of the matter is that's not an excuse. I had to really be accountable and be real with myself. That's step number one. Step number two in the art of healing is that once that you identify and recognize it, guess what? That was actually in the past. The past is the
Mm,
past,
that's
right?
true.
It's
Yes.
left behind. What happened, like in my situation, the same scenario, I held on to that because it gave me a sense of power. It gave me something in which to own because guess what? Even though it was negative, but yet it was my experience, right? And
Wow.
no one was going to take that away from me because there was so much hurt and so much rage and so much resentment in it. And yet at the same time, it wasn't doing me any favors, and the people associated around me, it wasn't benefiting no one because it was just an I thing. It was a self thing. It was a
Yes.
selfish thing. So I had to learn with that the past is the past. And in order for you to be the process of healing to truly be healed, you have to be willing and understand to let that go. Now, again,
Hmm.
I get it. Everybody's situation is different and easier said than done. Trust
Yes.
me when I tell you, I understand that.
Yes.
But I want you to think about the alternative. If you don't start the process of letting it go, if you don't get the right mentor, coach, someone to truly help you navigate through that pain, through that hurt, and start the process of healing and letting it go, then guess what?
Yeah.
It's not going to benefit you in the long run. It's going to affect you physically, mentally,
Yes.
emotionally, and spiritually as well. Trust me, I'm telling you from something in which that I know that I have experienced and that I have lived with. And even to this day, although I did a lot of work to get to the point where I'm at now, but yet it's an ever going process because I myself have experienced a ton full of trauma and the stuff in which
Yes.
that I went through. I wouldn't wish not even my worst enemy, even though I don't have any enemies, but
Absolutely.
I'm saying I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So
Yes.
that's just a couple of steps. The third thing is too, and this would really help me, and maybe it can help someone else as well. Really start a relationship with your higher power. Mine's I choose to call Jesus. Yours may be Yahweh, Muhammad, Buddha, the tree, Dog Toby, whatever. But you want to start
Hmm.
having that relationship because it gets to a point where it really becomes a spiritual battle, spiritual within.
That's true.
And for us as humans, we can only do so much through our own conscious
For yourself.
effort, right? Our own willpower, our own logic and reasoning and decision making. But you have to remember any type of trauma that you experience is built into this subconscious mind. Not only that, but it's also deep rooted within your body and spirit as well. So
Wow.
you need to be able to establish some sort of relationship with your higher power to also help with the healing process. That is very, very important. I cannot stress that enough because if you don't, and obviously you guys, I'm pretty sure, know someone or maybe
Yes.
you're experiencing yourself that you're not as healthy as you can be. You're not, you don't have the happiness and which that you would like to attain. Maybe as far as mentally, you're not as sharp as you
Yes.
would like to be, right? Emotionally, you may find you having like crazy mood swings, right? You don't have that proper balance in which that you want. So establishing that relationship with your higher power is just one of the many elements in which that you can start incorporating in your life. And I
Okay.
believe that I know for me because I'm in my 40s, I'm 46, right? These things I really start learning like the last the last 10 years. So I
Yes.
believe that the older that you get, you start to really understand and realize that, wow, you know what? This healing journey is very serious and I need to do something about that because you don't know, none of us knows
We
how
don't.
much time that we have left on this planet Earth. We don't know. And how the way things is going right now, since we're in the last days, things is looking very, very shaky.
That's
So
true.
you want to be able to incorporate those three in which that I mentioned in order to really start to build, that self-love, that
Yes.
self-heal. Because when you do that, now you'll be able to serve at the highest level and you will be able to start to see the transformation may not be like in one swoop. More times than not, they're very, very subtle, but they're also building blocks to something greater. And within 3 months, 6 months, even a year, 2 years, 5 years, you really start noticing the differences. And how's that? When people start to see you differently, especially for those that know you, and be like, wow, Cassandra, I just see a change about you. You wasn't the same person 5, 10 years ago. And you know what your response is? You're 1,000% correct because I am
That's
not the
right.
same person that I was 5 or 10 years ago when you've known me. I'm a different person, totally
Yes.
different person. So that's just a couple of examples. I hope that helps somebody out.
Yes, that's great. I want to say my condolence, to you and your family. I've also went lost my parent that was the same as you, so we share some things in common. But you said several things, and accountability, identify and recognize the past is the past, and number three, start a relationship with the high power, Jesus, whoever you believe in. When I'm Christian, so I believe in Jesus. So, but one thing I want that really stuck out to me, and I want to ask you about this power. So you said it was a negative power. So what sense of power did you get from I don't know, for being angry, I guess. What was that power that you, how did you release that?
Yeah. Oof, man. You know what? Because that power is so intoxicating in a very weird way. When you have that anger or that rage or that resentment, it really gives you that false sense of power, right? That you start to feel like, not to say that you feel like you're indestructible, but it's more so of like, how can I explain it? When you have that kind of power, it puts you in another manner. And because as human beings, we are like a radio, right? As far as what our frequencies is concerned, what happens is that when people sense that, right,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to keep their distance from you, right? Because they don't know based upon of what you're going to say. They don't know that you may just pop off just like a firecracker, or you may become very violent. And that's where I was. That's the kind of mindset I was as far as my 20s. I had like a very quick temper. I was
Yeah.
very articulate, very intelligent, but because of that, so much rage and anger and resentment, I became very manipulative, but also with a hot temper as well. So that is something that people are like, "Ooh, you know what? Don't mess with Shawn. You know,
Yes.
he's going through something right now. He ain't right."
Hey, right.
So you want to be careful as
Yeah.
far as on what
Yes.
you say because you might get it right or something worse. That's the kind of
I
mind
understand.
frame in which that I was, and I loved it. So to answer your question, how did I start the process of healing? Again, because when I started in my mid 20s, when I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, He really convicted me on a lot of things, a lot of different things. And it was important for me to start that process of healing because it wasn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
if I was forgiven for my sins and transgressions and was able to have a second life, if you will, because the way that I was going was down a road of destruction, right? And I would have ended up as a statistic guaranteed, meaning that I've
Absolutely.
been dead, another young black male dead, or would have been locked up doing some time, or would have just been strung out and just been homeless and God knows what, right? That's pretty much the
Yes.
statistics for young
Wow.
black men. That's just the facts. So when God saved me, he really started the healing process and really started to show me that I'm more than what people perceive me to be, for what society perceived for me to be. I was more than just my environment, being in the hood,
Right.
being in the projects, being around drug
Mm-hmm.
dealers, pimps, hoes, and robbers, and all that other stuff. I was way more than that and had so much more gifts and talents, to give and offer and be of value of this world. And so with that, the mindset shift started slowly but surely through the
Mm-hmm.
power of also people praying for me, right? That I didn't know until I
Absolutely.
became saved. And that's when I realized. But it was just a different, he showed me of what's possible.
The prayers of the
And
righteous, huh?
right. And it was up
Mm.
to me to embrace that and accept that and say, yes, I want that life, or just dispute it and just keep, running the streets and doing everything in which I wanted to do, and then follow right in the footsteps of what my father did. And I think that was another reason that really encouraged me to change my mindset, is because I didn't want it to become like my father, in which, by the way,
Yes.
he passed away when I was 14. He was a Rolling Stone, and quite frankly, I got brothers and sisters out there that I don't even know, right? I
Yeah.
mean, but
Hmm.
different time, different
Right.
era, been forgave him for that. He didn't know on what he didn't know, and that was another part as
Hmm.
far as for the healing process as well, because I had a huge rage and resentment for him not wanting to be in my life. He didn't want to show me on how it was to be a man, right? And learn men stuff. And that's something that I always was looking for. And he never wanted to fully embrace me and my twin sister. Right. So that combined with my mother passing away, and I had so much guilt
Yes.
and resentment and rage and just like all those emotions, because how the way, me and her had a very toxic relationship to say the least,
Yes.
and it could have been a whole lot better because I was her only son. And with all that emotion and then some, right? He showed me when I got saved that, you know what, all is forgiven. And now it's time for you to start anew. You have
Wow.
a new life. And so with that, along with the elders, of the church and the different teachings and teachers that he brought in my life, it really started for me to start to transform. Does transformation greatness, right? But start the process of
Hmm.
transforming the renewing of my mind and really understand, like, you know what, it's a better life out there. I just had to be
Yes. Yes.
willing as far as just to stick with it and see on what this life is. And it's just been an ongoing journey ever since. And now at 46, I get the opportunity as being the creator of transformation greatness to truly motivate, encourage, and inspire the masses and really serve in my gift and really be willing, right, as far as to do the calling and assignment that is on my life. And so, yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty cool
That is
stuff. Yeah,
perfect.
pretty cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Didn't know you was a twin. I'm learning something tonight. Well, this evening. I didn't know you was a twin. So that's something. I mean, you're just saying a whole lot of packed things. And I thank God for the grace on his life that you accepted the call to be able to transform and to help. Really, when I say the call, the assignment on your life to be able to be on to share this moment with you. So that's great. I'm just wow, elated. And I want to know also when you said you mentioned how to let it go. How do you let it go? How do you let this pain go and this rage and this power, this false sense of power that you thought you had? How did you let it go?
Again, it's something that it doesn't happen overnight because based upon what the level of trauma, the level of abuse or hurt, it takes time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's really isn't. Now, there are instances, and of course, for me being a hypnotherapist practitioner, there's certain techniques that I employ as far as with my clients and which can help them with that. But for the most part, us human beings, we're very complex anyway. We're
Yes.
complex individuals. And to answer your question, I like to illustrate this analogy. The habits and behaviors and the events, the things that corresponded in our life didn't happen overnight. It happened over a series of time. More times than not from 0 to 7, right? From when we
Yes.
were babies, little, up until about now, we developed certain habits, different events, different things that didn't happen. So to say as far as, oh, I can just let everything go in one swoop, it's really unrealistic, but rather it's a subtle and a gradual process. So to answer your
Yes.
question, how did I let it go? I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of prayer, a lot of learning, a lot of coaching. I had leaders and mentors that were in my life to really walk me through because
Wow.
I was at a stage where I was broken
Mhm.
emotionally, physically, financially, every type of broken you can think of. I,
Yes.
I was, right? And I needed the help. And just these, I mean, so many men and women that poured into my life over the course of time. I mean, like honestly, from the Patrick Grays of the world, to the Monica McKennas, to the Dr. James McConnells, to the Dr. Tabitha Russells, to the Les Browns, John C. Maxwell's, Jim Rohn, Eric Thomas, Reverend Ike. I mean, the late and great Bob Proctor, John Assaraf, to
Wow.
Cassandra S. Picketts of the world, right?
Got it.
To the Jackie Strolls, I mean,
Yes.
to the Shonda Alicias. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So these
Absolutely.
so these individuals, they help shape me, my character on who I am as an individual. So for that person that may be struggling as far as wanting to let go, and trust me, I
Yes.
get it. I totally get it, but you need people like that that's going to be in your
You
corner,
do?
right? That's going to encourage you, that's going to push you, that's going to hold you accountable. That's why
That's true.
accountability is super duper important. It's
It
very
is.
important, right? Those that's going to say, come on, man, you got this. Those that they understand your feelings and your emotions and what you're going through, but at the same token, they're like, okay, cool, let's get to work, let's get busy,
Yes.
right? And
I
they mean on what
yes.
they say, and they're not scolding you or being like, oh man, come on, man, why you let that go? No. They're positive, they're hearing you, but at the same token, they're like, you know what? I see greatness within you, Cassandra. I see you doing so much great stuff in the world, right? And
Yes.
they're willing to
Mm-hmm.
spend time and invest in you time wise, give you the tools, and more importantly, they will check up on you because they want to hold you accountable to what you say that you want to do in a loving and positive manner, and just pushing you and driving you. And so for
Wonderful.
me, that's the way I was been able as far as to get over certain things, because of me,
Yes.
quite transparent with you. If I didn't have those individuals that was pushing me like that, right, that was challenging me, right, to be my
Your
greater
best self.
version of myself,
Yes.
then guess what? There wouldn't be no transformation greatness. I wouldn't be a part of the small business network. I wouldn't be doing none of this, right? Who knows where I'll be at right now?
Perfect. I'm going to tell you this. I'm just in awe of you. I'm inspired every time I talk to you. And I think it's to not think I know where it says iron sharpens iron. I'm inspired to do more and to be my best self, to show up. And when I started this series about forgiveness and now this healing, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I literally had people come that I ran into that I used to work with 20 years ago. And people don't understand. You don't talk about what I have never been able to talk about, something I have never experienced. So when you start wanting to change, you begin to change your mindset. There's going to be opposition, but then there's going to also be those things, those experiences that you got to say, hey, I forgive. I didn't come out and say I forgive, but to be able to look that person in the face, in their eyes, and not bring up anything, and be able to show love, that's forgiveness. And there were people, there was a lady that came out 20 years ago, a co-worker that I met, that I used to work with about 6 years ago. And I'm like, oh God, what are you trying to tell me? So what I took it as, I'm this is the right path. This was for me. And here again, with this healing, what also, what things do you recommend? I know that some people, you start changing your mindset. You had these people, different mentors and people that you met and gravitated to, and and it was able to impart into your life. So, what tips can you, or gems, I would say, that you could give a person to begin this journey of healing?
For me, first and foremost, prayer is very important.
Yes.
Prayer is very important. Spend time with your creator. Every morning, I'm out here in the patio. I have my cup of coffee, and I love to listen to music that really gets me in the right mindset. A lot of affirmation music, positive, positive affirmations, or sometimes not even music at all. Sometimes just listening to nature and allowing for me and my higher power to just have a conversation internally within the spirit.
Okay.
That is very powerful in itself. So that's one. Secondly, journaling. Ooh, journaling is so powerful because it's one thing
It
to
is.
think about it, but now when you're able to put it down on paper, you're putting it down on paper. It brings a lot of power to it. Brings up a lot of emotions, obviously, feelings, right? But when you start doing that on a consistent basis, now you're starting to have a track record and you're able to see how was I feeling on Monday? How was I feeling on Tuesday? How was I feeling on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and et cetera, et cetera. And then if you do that for about 30 days, you're able to look through that and you're able to see a pattern, right? But it's very therapeutic. That's the reason why you have
It is.
individuals that will say journal for a reason because it's very therapeutic. It helps a bunch. It's something I even recommend for my clients as well. Therapeutic journaling, it really does something. Next thing, what you want to do in terms of healing, you want to make sure that you're feeding your mind positive stuff, good things, amazing things, right? Listen, we're in the age of YouTube, we're in the age of audio. Immerse yourself as far
Yes.
as it's something that's positive, that's amazing. Whether it's through Bishop T.D. Jakes or Joe Osteen or Joyce Meyer or whoever you like, right? Listen to a lot of educational videos, right? There's so much stuff that's out there, especially here. I'm sorry, especially on YouTube. They got
Yes.
YouTube University. You can find whatever you want, right?
Yes.
Immerse yourself into that. Fourth thing, find something that you love. Ooh, I'm gonna say that again.
Oh, I
Find
love that.
something that you love. When I was going through my healing process, believe it or not, right? I found artwork was kind of fun. And
Wow.
I'm
It
not much of
is.
an I'm not much of an art person, but when I was going through my healing process, I found it to be pretty cool. And I found myself just drawing little stuff here, painting a little stuff there, and even though I'm no Picasso, right, or anything like that, but that
Right.
wasn't the point. The point is it was very freeing. It allowed for my imagination to take root and it allowed for me just to focus on the goodness of that rather than worrying about as far as the past and how much hurt and pain that actually came out of that. That's very free in itself. Another thing is too, and which we touched on about a few moments ago, you want to surround yourself with positive, good people, people that you admire, people that you respect, people that have character, people that are doing things on a high level that you are looking to achieve, right? And you are surrounding yourself with them, right? You are soaking up the information, you're asking them questions. The reason why you're doing that is because the thing about us human beings is that we can't have a positive and a negative thought at the same time. No way
Yes.
possible. No way
That's true.
possible. So when you're doing that
It's
now,
not.
right. So now what you're doing, and guys,
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to go into a little technical here, so to stay with me. What's happening now is that you are training your brain. You are rewiring certain patterns, which is also known as neuroplasticity. So now what was happening is that you are creating new neutrons, if you will, which was basically now you're training your subconscious mind to focus on this particular emotion, which is happiness. Every time that you paint or every time that you draw, it brings you satisfaction. Boom, got it. Now, let's say, for instance, if you're listening to like classical music or just some good, solid music, whatever it is, you're training your subconscious mind. It's like, ooh, I like that type of music. I like how the way it makes me feel. Subconscious mind is like,
Yes.
okay, boom, got it. And what's happening as you start doing that, more and more is being stored into the subconscious mind, just like a computer. So when that
Right.
image of
Mm-hmm.
something that may have happened 5 or 7 or 10 years ago, guess what? That happy thought is coming again. And right, so now the dopamine, every time you think about that, that dopamine is coming, and the cortisol, which is the bad thing, that bad feeling or emotion, it starts to dwindle, dwindle
Right.
down little by little by little, and more of the dopamine, that happy, feeling
Yes.
starts to overtake more. That's the reason why it's very important. You want to generate the small wins. You want to be able to do
Oh,
things that
wonderful.
truly brings you joy, because you want to create that dopamine over and over and over and over again. That's the reason why, as far as like with athletes, as another example, that's the reason why they love to win. That's the reason why they like to look at their stats. That's the reason why they go through the art of practicing over and over and over again on a jump shot, or when they're throwing the football or whatever have you. Hey, young man. So, you know, the dopamine effect, it's very addictive. And what it does, it creates those happy tones within our body, because remember, our mind is attached to our body and our spirit as well. So now, overall, to answer your question, that is something that helps a lot. And in turn, what happens if you're doing that for, say, for instance, 30 days, you start to develop a habit. From there, you keep
Hmm.
on doing it, it starts to become a routine. A little bit more, it starts to become a lifestyle. And then you start
Yes.
noticing on how the way you're
So,
talking, how the way you are
Lord
looking,
have
how the
mercy.
way in which that you're feeling. Now, would it be certain days in
Amen.
which would be better than others? Yeah, absolutely, of course, because remember, you're getting over the trauma and the hurt and everything else in which that you had experienced, right?
Hmm.
But you now start to
Yes.
deal with it a little bit more better, to the point
Okay.
where now you are able to overcome that. And then from there, you can start moving on and embarking on the next adventure, the next chapter.
This is great. I have a little person here with me. This is one of my this is one of my grandsons, and I'm always happy to have him. He always comes somewhere where I am. So this
Cool.
he makes me real happy. But I want to touch on something. These are really good gems. And I know that I was listening to a young lady here in our triad. She's a circle pastor, and I forget her name right now. If anybody see me, charge it to my head and not my heart. Where when I began journaling, I started writing letters to. I wrote a letter to my mom because I was upset that she passed, and upset about some of the things that transpired while she was in her transition. Now, of course, she can't read it, right? But that let me get some of those things out, and with the circle pastor, she would say like write a letter. She didn't call it really journaling, but write a letter and basically burn it afterwards. So
Hmm.
I burnt several letters, and just got it out, and that helped me to get over some things. Now everything wasn't negative about my mom and our relationship. Of course, it wasn't, but just some things that transpired. I wrote a letter to my father, that was a little bit more different because he wasn't there.
Right,
So I wrote letters to people that never would they never read it, but
right.
to help me to release some of that pain, some of that however I really thought about them and so forth. So I think that's a good thing to me. I really want to say that because most times people think that you got to go tell a person what's on your mind. You don't really have to.
You're
Once you get it
correct.
settled in yourself and you get yourself together, you get it within you, you don't have to always go to that person because they may not receive it.
Correct.
Some people don't receive it, some people do. So I feel like if long as I got it straight with me, then I'm okay. All right. So I mean, this has been really wonderful. I have taken notes. Okay, taking
Good.
notes. Every time that I talk to you, I'm always having a pen and paper because there is always something that you say that just like, I didn't think of that. Your perspective about things, Mr. White. I really appreciate you coming on here in this journey with me because I told you some things about me when we met, and I needed this. I needed the things that you said. Um, to me and to help me to move forward. We all need some help. I know in our communities we never went to I would never say that I don't need you, but that's not true. We need each other. We
Correct.
need people. The older that I'm getting, when I was younger, I was a little feisty, well, a lot feisty, a little bit more crazier and all that. Now I'm finding out that the only way you get anything is through people.
Correct.
That's how you move. That's how you get. I was listening to something today, and where it says, well, you need to have favor. You have favor with God, and you have favor with man. So you
Correct.
need each other.
Correct.
You
Correct.
can't move without each other. So
Thousand
is there
percent.
any last things? Oh yes, yes. I am just as I stated, I do appreciate you, being on this journey with me and coming out of this evening and to talk about the elements of healing. Is there anything that you would last tidbit you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, I do. And I want to give a special shout out as far as to those in the audience. So we have here Miss Shonda or Lucia. Thank you so much as far as for tuning in. I mean, she is like truly, truly amazing. She is
Yes,
like a
no,
woman of many
no,
different
you are
talents.
so
And we
amazing.
have here my friend here and also mentor, Miss Bess McCarty. And she is like, listen, when it comes to healing, forgiveness, I mean,
Oh,
just
go ahead.
overall, she is like truly a one of a kind.
You
Like
can't
she
do that,
is,
Yvonne. Unless
yeah,
you put your
she is
hands in.
truly amazing. So I would just say this: when it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to the art of healing, when you're going through the process, and there's going to be times where you're going to feel like imposter syndrome, meaning that you know, I don't know, it hurts, but who am I? You may feel like that as far as you want to be in victim mode because it's very easy to stay in that mode because, like I mentioned earlier, it gives you a false sense of security and power when you're in victim mode. But
Yes.
I want you to ask yourself this question. The more you stay in that, who is it truly benefiting? And I want you to really take a look at that. And I want you to sit with it. I want you to
Wow.
sit with it. Don't respond very quickly. And I want you to sit with it. And if you're really willing to, have an exercise that you can even do as well. Something in which that I've learned from one of my fellow colleagues and someone I consider as a mentor, Steve Critter. You want to take, well, let's set up this way. You want to be able to visualize that there's two chairs. And this is more of an interview format. And you are in the backdrop and you're watching as the audience. And there's yourself and there's your presenting issue, whether it be rage, whether it be resentment, whether it be hurt, whether it be pain. And you sit down and you have an interview with that presenting issue. Give that presenting issue a name. It can be Sam, it can be Mike, it can be Martha, whatever it is. And your job is, as you're watching this interview unfold, you're in the backdrop. You're watching as an audience member. And your job is to be as non biased as possible. And you're just watching the conversation. And you're listening to each other go back and forth. You're listening to the questions and the answers that's being corresponded. And you're just sitting back and you're just sitting back observing. Now, in order for this to work, because ladies and gentlemen, this is so powerful, I did it myself, and literally, I kid you not, it scared the living daylights out of me. I kid you not, but it was so freeing, so freeing. And when you do it, you will get a different perspective. For everyone is different, but I know for me, I got different perspective. It's very enlightening, and I learned a lot from that. And I was also able to take a lot of power out of that presenting issue. And so I challenge you all, whatever you're experiencing. And again, I get it. Some people may say, well, Shawn, it's easier said than done, and you don't know as far as on what I went through and what level of hurt or disappointed. And I would say you are 1,000% correct. You are totally correct. I don't know. But one thing I do know is this, is that you may not have been responsible for what has happened to you, but best believe at this current time, you are responsible on how you get over that. A lot of people don't like that, Cassandra, because it
That's
brings
true.
accountability back on them, on self, on me. But it's up to you. Everybody has a decision. Everybody has free will. You can either continue to stay as being the victim, or you can overcome it, transform out of that situation, and become a victor. That choice is up to each and every single man or woman. And that's all I got for you.
I'm blown away. Again, thank you so very much. This means a lot to me, Mr. White, with Transformation Greatness. You all, my name is Cassandra Pickett. Please take the time to reach out to him, to reach out to me, reach out to us, Small Business Network. This is your element of healing. He just broke it down for you all. My suggestion would be take this time to get yourself healed. Thank you so very much. Please like and follow us. We have different handles that we have on IG, TikTok, but please follow us. You can hashtag live. Here again, this is episode 254. And my name again is Cassandra Pick with the Small Business Network. And this is Shawn A. White. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. And we have liked to have inspired, impact, and influence you on today. Be
Oh,
blessed. Thank you.
hold on 1 second.
Yes.
Cassandra, I got
Yes.
two people that would be excellent as far as for you to interview.
Okay.
I
I'm
got,
ready.
and they're in the audience. We have Shonda Olicia and the wonderful and the famous, well-known Miss Bess McCarty.
Bessemer Cardi.
No, Bess McCarty.
Okay, Bess McCarty.
Mm-hmm.
Could you get me those names after
I
we
sure
talk
can.
after, and get me
I
those
sure can.
names, and I would love to have them on my podcast, show, channel, you name it. I would love to have them. Thank
They're
you.
beautiful. They're
Thank
beautiful
you.
people. Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
sure. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been a pleasure. You'll have a good evening, and we'll talk soon.
Excellent.
Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.